Hey there everybody, my name is Kayla and I have an 8-year-old son named Shane with autism. I created this as a space to share my resources and experiences in hopes to improve some of the families out there affected by autism. Today I'm going to share with you what autism means to me and Shane specifically. Every individual on the spectrum is living their own experiences and are very unique to themselves. However, there are some things that I think that are valuable to be shared so that you could possibly learn from our experiences. One of the biggest and most obvious traits of autism that affects Shane on a day-to-day basis is his ability to interact socially. Shane has a very difficult time interacting with people appropriately, and as he gets older, it's becoming more and more difficult to get him to understand how it is socially appropriate to approach people. You know, when a 3-year-old comes up to you and grabs your legs and hugs you and you don't even know them, it's kind of cute, but when an 8-year-old that's the size of a 10-year-old does it, it's kind of awkward. Shane talks really loud and gets in people's faces all the time. He repeats himself aggressively and repeatedly until he is answered. And every day we are working on how to make him understand that when we're interacting with people, you have to be polite and be patient and wait your turn to talk and not speak to strangers or do not hug strangers. It's hard when we're interacting with people, especially people who don't understand him or know anything about autism. One of the first signs of autism for us was Shane's speech delay, and despite him being very verbal and talking a lot, which I am incredibly grateful for, he still has a hard time communicating and understanding language, and it affects his day-to-day life, whether it's in school or at home or when he's playing on the playground. I try to get him talking as much as possible, but it's not always easy. For example, if Shane goes away for a weekend and I ask him what happened, what did he do? You know, he just says, it was fine. He doesn't want to talk any more than that. And that's really hard for me as a parent because, you know, you want to know what your kids are doing all day at school or if they're gone for the weekend. But definitely his speech delay and his language comprehension has definitely made it more difficult to communicate with him and get the information that you would want to either get out of or share with him, your child. Despite him not having the comprehension of an 8-year-old, an average 8-year-old, he is moving forward, and for that you have to be thankful. Many autistic people experience a high level of rigidity, and Shane is definitely part of that group. He likes routine and he likes to be in control. He likes to know exactly what is going to happen when, and when he doesn't know, it often results in some sort of behavioral issue. I find it's not on a day-to-day thing that his rigidity is hard because we've learned to manage it with schedules and explanations, but it's definitely on a regular basis. His rigidity affects his ability to interact with others and to experience new things and to do activities with friends and family. He has a very hard time accepting change, especially in spur of the moment sort of situations, and he wants that routine there all the time, and it definitely makes it difficult to have fun sometimes because he is just like, this is how it needs to be, and even if we're going to do it in a better, more fun way, he has a hard time accepting that it's going to change. In the last about 6 months, I've noticed that Shane has become increasingly anxious. He has developed a level of anxiety that I can't even anticipate, which makes it really hard for me to manage it and help him with that. It's definitely a new thing for him, and it actually scares me a bit because he's becoming to a point where he gets very anxious about the smallest things, and sometimes he doesn't understand. And when he doesn't understand and he can't get me to explain it in a way that he understands, he gets very anxious immediately. He also gets anxious when things don't go his way, and it's not just about like throwing himself on the floor, having a bit of a fit because things aren't going his way. I can see him getting physically upset. His eyes will welt up with tears. He'll start to cry. You can see he's actually sad because he's feeling anxious. I know many of you probably relate. Shane is an incredibly picky eater. He will not eat any vegetable knowingly. He eats about 5 fruits. He only likes ground beef. He refuses to eat chicken, whether I put it in a burger or not. He would live off bread and cheese if I let him, basically. I actually have a video that I'll link below that I talk about picky eating and how to get your kids to eat a few more things. But yeah, Shane's picky eating definitely affects our day-to-day life. For example, we went to a restaurant bar one time for some wings, and I just assumed they'd have pizza or at least some sort of bread that he would enjoy, or a burger, but it just happened to be a restaurant bar that didn't sell burgers or pizza, and it was terrible. He threw himself on the floor. He got so anxious. He was so upset, and I was just like, you know, picky eating is really hard, and him not eating everything also creates a lot of worry in me, because I worry like, oh my God, this kid is not eating any vegetables. So of course I make smoothies and try to sneak them into pasta sauces. But I find as he's getting older and realizing texture and being more aware of what he eats and how food is prepared, he's getting even pickier. He used to love raisin bread and raisins, and now he's like, I don't want to eat raisins. I'll say to him, do you want garlic bread? And I'll give it to him, but if it's not on the exact same bread that he ate it on before, he won't eat it. It's getting to be more and more difficult, so I am definitely going to be posting more videos about how I'm sort of working around his picky habits of eating, because I can't afford to have this gap closing anymore in terms of the food that he's actually willing to eat. Autism has definitely brought stimming into our lives. It wasn't until about Shane was, I think, 4 years old that I noticed any sort of physical stimming that he was doing. We were actually in the kitchen, and I remember the day very clearly, and he just started jumping up and down and humming, and I was like, what are you doing? I just thought he was being silly and needed to get the sillies out. But then, within a couple months, I saw it again, and then I saw it again. Fast forward, now he's 8.5 years old, and Shane stims on a regular basis. So he stims when he's excited, happy, frustrated, anticipating something. He'll just drop whatever he's doing, stand up, jump up and down, and hum sort of like a to himself. It's really uncontrollable, and most of the time I let him do it unless it's being very disruptive to what we're trying to do, or if it's disrupting, the situation that we're in. But most of the time I just let him get it out, because I know it's something that he physically needs to do. We actually have a trampoline, and sometimes I tell him, if you need to jump and hum, just go on your trampoline. But it affects his day-to-day life. At school, he'll be in the middle of a lesson and he'll just jump up and start stimming because he's thinking about something that made him excited. Or we'll have friends over and we're watching a movie and he just can't sit still because he's excited about what's going to happen next. Something that I work on a day-to-day basis to help me and my son out is to manage my expectations as to how things should go, or when things don't work out as planned. I have to remind myself all the time that my son is autistic, and something as simple as going to a haircut for the 20th time in his life may not go as planned. If Shane throws himself on the floor at the barbershop instead of getting his haircut, I have to just take a deep breath, keep it moving, and try again next time. Managing my expectations is something that I am constantly learning about and reminding myself to do, but it's part of our day-to-day life, and it has helped me significantly in terms of managing my own stress and frustration surrounding my son's behaviors and his autism. I was not prepared for the degree that autism was going to affect every area of our lives after my son's diagnosis. I know that every single individual on the spectrum is living their own journey as well as their family. However, I wanted to make this video to share how autism has really affected our lives on a day-to-day basis, so that hopefully maybe you can learn something from our experiences or just find some commonality in it. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up or share it with somebody that you think it could help. I post videos every Sunday, sometimes Wednesdays also. So please hit the subscribe button to find out what I'm going to share next.